Hello guys, you're welcome to yet another tutorial. My name is Gerald and you're welcome to my channel. Today we'll be discussing note values and time signature. Basically, it's how to count in music. So like I always tell my students, music is about two things. What to play or sing and when to play it or sing it. It's about the notes you play and timing. So today we'll be discussing timing, basically how to count in music. So let's jump right in. The learning outcomes for today's lesson is one, learning the types of notes, learning their values, and then time signature. So at the end of this lesson, these are the things I want you to know. I want you to know the different types of notes in music. I want you to know their values and also the concept of time signature. So let's jump right in. Right in my screen, you can see five different notes displayed. So the first one right here is called a whole note. It's also called a semi-breve. A semi-breve, and is spelled like this. And it represents a whole note. What do we mean by a whole note? It means that it's not divided, it's just a whole note and it's held for the space of 4 beats. You will begin to understand when we explain it and when we get into the exercises. So for now, just pay attention and learn the types of notes. So these are not all the notes there are in music are not limited to this, but these are the basic ones you need to start off in music. And the first is a whole note. And like I said, it is played for a duration of 4 beats. What I mean is when you play the note, you hold it for 4 beats. We divide a whole note into two and we get a half note. If a whole note is played for a duration of 4 beats, for instance, let me use my metronome. 2, 3, 4. You can hear the metronome click. The high bang is the first beat. So I'll count. 1, 2, 3, 4. A whole note will be played for that duration, for 4 beats. Like so. A half note, logically will be played for half that time. So a half note is played for 2 beats, all right? A half note lasts 2 beats, and a quarter note lasts 1 beat. An eighth note would be the division of a quarter note into two. I hope you understand. And the 16th note will be the division of an eighth note. So if I want to play all whole notes, this is what it will sound like. This is all whole notes. And if I want to play only half notes, that means you will just hear one note for 2 beats. So after every 2 beats, you hear another note, like so. And then I explained that a quarter note will be played for how many beats? 1 beat. So every beat will get a note each, like so. And then an eighth note will be a division of that. So for every beat, you get 2 notes, like so. And the 16th note will be a further division of an eighth note. So now for every beat, you get 4 notes, like so. So this is just an explanation, a simple explanation of notes, types of notes. And then I'm going to explain their values. Notice I said the value of a whole note is 4 beats. The value of a half note is 2 beats. The value of a quarter note is 1 beat. and the value of a 16 note is half of a beat. All right? All right, so let me clean off what I've written here so that we can move on to the next slide. This is a pyramid describing the relationship between notes. Like I mentioned earlier on, a whole note divided into two, you get two half notes. Further division of a half note, you get what we call quarter notes and then eighth notes. I told us that a whole note is called a semibreve. So now let me give you the alternative names of the other notes. A whole note is called a semibreve. These are things you should learn. You have to memorize them. And a half note is called a minim, right? If you did music in secondary school, you remember these names. It's called a minim, and this is called a crotchet. That doesn't mean if you call a crotchet a quarter note, you're wrong. You're right as well. And I think this has to do with nationality. I think the British use these names while the Americans use whole notes, half notes, quarter notes and eighth notes. But it depends on you, and this is called a quaver. Like I mentioned before we started, the notes just simply tells you when to play what. And I already described their values. So let's move on to the next slide. So this is a practical example of what a note will look like in a music scenario. So this is a staff right here. We have a staff and we have the different types of notes, and we'll be playing this. I told you this is a whole note, yes, as it is written here, and it lasts for 4 beats. Now this is graphical. I like this example because it shows you graphic representation of the notes. I told you a half note is a further division of a whole note. So where you would have one note for a whole bar, this is a bar right here. This is a bar right here. And this is another bar right here. Where you would have one whole note in a bar, if you divide a whole note into two, you would have two half notes. Further division of this will give you two quarter notes and two quarter notes and 4 8 notes. I hope you understand. So let's play this. Let's play everything we have here. In the first bar, you hear only one note. You keep hearing the consistent count of the metronome. But when we get to the second bar, you will hear two notes. The first note on beat 1, the second note on beat 3. But on the third bar now, that is where things become tricky. You would hear 6 notes in general. The first 2 notes, you will hear them on beat 1 and beat 2. But on beat 3 and beat 4, you would hear 4 notes. Why we've subdivided a quarter note into 8 notes, right? So let me put on the metronome while we play this example. Let's go. Sorry to be musically correct. This note right here is an F. The F above middle C, which is this note. So let me play this for every, music theorists out there, so I won't be criticized. So let's start again. That is, I just played what we have on the slide here. I just played what we have on the slide. On the first beat, on the first bar rather, you will notice I played just one note. So let me count and play it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the third bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. The and written here is just to help us to understand that there's a note here. So how you would sing it is 1, 2, 3, and 4 and, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. Please pardon me, I went back to playing a C instead of playing an F. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and right? So please, this might look a little bit tricky, but as time goes on, you get to understand. Basically, what I want you to understand here is types of notes and their values. This will help you to write music and read music better in the future. So let's move on to time signature. Time signature is simply telling you how many of these notes you find in a bar. It's like an instruction, just like a manual, user's manual. They'll tell you if you buy an appliance, they'll tell you how to use it. That in so and so appliance, you will find this, you will find that, you will find this. So that's what a time signature is. And this time signature right here is 4/4. You would always find time signatures written in fractions. So the numerator signifies number of notes, while the denominator signifies type of notes. A whole note, the numerical value of a whole note is 1. The numerical value of a half note is 2, right? The numerical value of a half note is 1/2, right? Sorry, let me start again. Is the numerical value of a whole note is 1. The numerical value of a half note is 1/2. The numerical value of a quarter note is 1/4. The numerical value of an eighth note is 1/8, right? So when you see 1, this 1, we know 1/1 is the same thing as 1, right? In mathematics. So when you see 1 as a denominator, it means, for instance, you see 4/1 as a time signature. It means you would find 4 whole notes. The denominator would represent the type of notes, while the numerator represents the number of notes. So you find 4 whole notes in every bar. I just told us 2. If you see 2 as the denominator, it represents a half note. 4 represents a quarter note. 8 represents an eighth note, right? So let's go on to other examples of time signatures. Right here, we see different kind of time signatures. So from the knowledge of the last slide, let's now answer these questions. Like I told you, the numerator signifies the number of notes, while the denominator signifies the type of note. If you see 1/2, it means a half note. If you see 1/4, it means a quarter note. That's the denominator. The 4 under here tells you we're dealing with quarter notes. The 8 under here tells you we're dealing with 8 notes. The numerator here tells you we are dealing with 3 8 notes, right? So it means if this is a time signature for a song or for a piece of music, it means you would find 3 8 notes in every bar, or its equivalent. This one tells us you will find 2 quarter notes in every bar, or its equivalent. This tells you we'll find 3 quarter notes in every bar, or its equivalent. 4 quarter notes in every bar, or its equivalent. So this right here represents it's called common time. And this right here is the most common time signature you find in music. So I think composers now used, instead of writing 4/4 always, you just denote it with a C, meaning common time. And I think this represents half of a common time, which is 2/4. So let's continue, let's go on. So this is a practical example, a rhythm exercise to help us internalize what we've learned so far. So I'll put on the metronome again and would play the first system, right? And you would notice I would play for every bar. I would play just one note. You hear just one note. And a bar simply means, this section here is a bar, like I've explained before. This section is a bar. And in every bar here, you find 4 beats or 4 clicks, right? 4 beats or 4 clicks. So let me clap this bar right here. Let me clap this bar right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I just clapped the whole system. All right? I just clapped the whole system. And you heard how many claps? 1, 2, 3, 4. All on beat 1. So now let's move on to the second system. You would hear 2 claps in every bar. And you hear the clap on beat 1 and beat 3. Why? Because we're dealing with half notes. We divided the whole note into 2, and that gives us 2 half notes in every bar. So let's do this. Join me as we do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Now going on to the next system, we would see a further division of half notes into quarter notes, right? So for every beat, you would hear a clap, like so. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Now going on to the last example, we would hear, for every beat, you would hear 2 claps, like so. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? That's how you count it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Whereas in the former example, all you heard is 1 clap per beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But in the 8th note, you will hear 2 claps per beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I hope you understand what I just explained. So going on to the conclusion. In this lesson, we dealt with types of notes, note values, and time signatures. Types of notes tells us, the basic type of notes we have. We discussed the whole notes, we discussed the half notes, we discussed the quarter notes, and we discussed the 8th notes and the 16th notes. And I told you the alternative names for these notes. The whole notes are called semibriefs. The half notes are called minims. The quarter notes are called crotchets. The 8 notes are called quavers. And the 16 notes are called semiquavers. There are other notes, but these are just the basic ones you need to start off in music. And I told you their values. The whole note has a value of 4 beats. So you hold it for a duration of 4 beats. The half note has a value of 2 beats. The quarter note has a value of 1 beat. And the 8th note has a value of how many beats? Half of a beat. So in a beat, you would hear 2 8 notes. So I now went on to discuss time signature. Time signature is just an instruction to tell us how many of these notes you find in a bar. And I explained that 4/4 is called common time, right? It's called common time, and it simply means the numerator tells us the number of notes in a bar, while the denominator tells us the value, the type of notes we'll find. So this right here means we'll find 4 quarter notes or 4 crotchets in a bar. Thank you for sticking around till the end. I'll see you in the next one.